Can you hear me now?
Yes. I didn't see
Thank
him,
you.
though. That's all right.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hurrah.
All right, can we have a roll call, please?
Can you hear me? There we go. Councilmember Kelly,
Present.
Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Perkins. Here. Councilmember Armstrong.
Here.
Councilmember Granillo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mendoza.
Here.
Mayor Miller.
Here.
And our town attorney is on remotely. We just cannot see him.
Okay. Introductions, presentations, and proclamations. Quarterly update by the Chino Valley Area Commerce. Ms. Brashear, are you ready? Okay, cool.
Question is, can you guys see me? I'm even wearing heels.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Lorette Brashear. I'm the Director of the Chino Valley Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm here today to give you a brief update on what the Chamber has been up to. Since COVID-19 hit, the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce became quite the outside of the box thinkers. So we quickly had to think, what are we going to do? We continue to have our luncheons. Our luncheons remained outside, social distancing, and we even had a mask fashion show. Our visitor center was closed for 2 weeks during COVID when the COVID numbers hit its highest peak, and the Chamber of Commerce remained open the entire time. So we were the only chamber to remain open in the Tri-City area. Wine Bites and Brews is one of our biggest events, and thinking outside the box, that quickly also became Wine Bites and Cruise. If you attended that, it was Wine Bites and Tornado that day as well. So we had the wonderful weather as well. Some of the other community events that we had to do and wanted to do was in August, we Essence Kitchen and Bar, and we also did backpacks and school supplies for the kids. We passed out over 300 backpacks, and Essence gave away spaghetti meals to go. In December, we partnered again with Essence Kitchen Plus Bar and the Chino Valley Lioness Club. That is when we did homeless vet. We gave away gifts to the homeless veterans. There is 7 identified homeless veterans here in the Chino Valley area, and we were able to do something nice for them. And then also in December, we did a Jingle Bell Bash, which is our first ever 2-day arts and crafts festival, and we had Santa there as well. So that was a really nice thing that we were able to do for the community. Moving forward, we have women in business, and our chamber ambassadors have resumed as their normal scheduled. So we have an ambassador ribbon cutting and mixer, and it will be March 3rd. So we welcome you all to please come. It's from 5 to 6:30, and the new business is Alpha Fortress Games. So it's a brand new arcade in town. Women in Business will be meeting February 23rd at El Paricio Restaurant, and the topic is Love Your Health from 11:30 to 1. During this time, we have had our regular luncheons, thinking outside the box, radio and podcast, all available to our members and helping out the community. Some of the big news, which all of you may know, is that we're going to be your new neighbors. So the Chino Valley Area Chamber of Commerce is very fortunate that we have found a forever home. We've always been renting, and with the threat that this building can go at any moment, and the chamber had to relocate in 30 days, has been a threat for us. So we were very fortunate, and we were able to get a forever home. And so we will be across the street from you guys with more visibility, and we're really excited about that. Right now, you might have seen there was a giant fence that was around a wooden fence. That wooden fence has been removed. Mary Cozy's Home Furnishing has removed the fence for us to repurpose the wood. So that was really nice. Inside has been done, still more painting needed. The flooring has been completely finished because that was really bad. And then we're also working on an ADA bathroom and door. So that's to come. And we're hoping to release videos and kind of give an update on what's happening. Outside, we've done some yard work already that has been done. We're also working on building our and doing some landscaping. So we also like to thank our big supporters in the community. We've had wonderful people helping us out, Dirt Visions, Kinson Construction, MRL and engineering as well. So without their help and without our benefactor, we would not be where we're at today. Some upcoming things that are coming is this Saturday, we have a Chamber of Commerce. So we're going to be painting the outside and we're going to be doing, you know, some landscaping and just some fun stuff. So our painting party starts at 10 a.m. if anybody would like to join us. Since we are moving, our last day is going to be February 28th. And so February 20th is our last day at our location at 175 East Road 2 South. Once that happens, we will have a community sale. So our community sale will be February 27th. Anybody that wants to be a vendor and be part of our sale, it's $25 to be there. If you want to just come, it's going to be like a flea market, arts and crafts, all kinds of good stuff. So that'll be on February 27th. We're also working on a giant community map, and we are partnering with the town to do so. It's a caricature map with all, you know, what's happening in the area, all the different businesses, the library. And so we're working on that as we speak, and that will be a physical map as well as part of our app. So the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce has an app. Download the app. The map will be there. You can find driving instructions to any of these buildings. So that's kind of a new thing that's coming. Also, we've set up a GoFundMe. As one of my bosses likes to say, it's our pie in the sky, and I'm quoting her. She likes to say that, Wendy McManigal. And it is what we're trying to do with a GoFundMe is we hope that maybe with the acreage that we have to launch an amphitheater in the back, the ability to rent it out, the ability to host night shows, the ability to, you know, host open mics, the ability to do any of that stuff. So we're really hoping that that might be a money generator for us. And we also want to build a conference room. That is something that we need, and it's also something that our community needs. So we would do this and make it affordable. So we've set up a GoFundMe, and you can find it under GoFundMe under CV Forever Home. And that concludes my presentation. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Been
you.
busy. Next is call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. The total time for call to public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and discussion at a later date, or responding to criticism. The individuals who wish to speak, please state your first and last name and if you reside within Chino Valley town limits. Anybody here want call to the public? Anything online?
We did not receive any emails or any letters dropped off at Town Hall for call to the public.
All right. So next is current event summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events. If listed below, they may also be there may also be a presentation on information requested by the mayor and council, and questions may be answered. No action will be taken. I have Cecilia, unfortunately missed her last meeting. We were going to recognize her. And Cecilia Gritman's years of service, date of hire was February 13th of 2001. She was appointed town manager November 15th of 2016. Cecilia has been employed with the town for almost 20 years and has served as our town manager for the last 4 years. We wish her the best in her retirement. We also got her a plaque, and I just wanted to publicly recognize her. Well, on the same tone, we wanted to welcome Ms. Blackmore in for her first meeting, and we look forward to working with you as we go. Anybody else have anything? Go ahead, Annie.
I just have one quick thing. The Chino Valley Unified School District voted yesterday for all students pre-K through 12 to return to full-time in-person attendance beginning on the 16th. Families who wish to stay online will still have that option. That is it.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side? Go ahead.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Chino Valley Youth Football and Cheer. They're having a raffle from the Juniper Wood Ranch Gun Club. And this helps our children for youth football that we're going to have this year for the 2021 football season. And that'll take place on May 1st, 2021. The drawing will take place May 1st, 2021. So if you can help out, that'd be great for our children. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Your turn.
All right, just one quick item. As you were all coming in, you may have noticed our animal shelter transport van out there. And this van was actually, we were able to purchase it because Mary Catherine Campbell, her estate donated a sum of money. So we were able to purchase that. And it's really going to help our staff be able to take some of the animals to and from the vets and the different events that they have to go to. And so we're very thankful for that. Actually, Ms. Campbell, she adopted a pet from our shelter before she had passed away. So we want to thank her estate for that gift. And I also want to recognize the work of Marilee Easton, our animal control supervisor. She really handled getting all that done and putting it together. And I think it just looks really good. So take a look at that if you have a chance.
All right, thank you.
Good job.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to move an item from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Anybody like to remove anything?
Not here.
Okay,
Make a motion to accept consent agenda items A, B, C, and D as written.
okay, motion made. A second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Action items. The town council may vote to recess a public hearing and hold an executive session on any item on this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 for the purpose of discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney. Executive sessions are not open to the public and no action may be taken in executive session. Item 6A, consideration and possible action to accept the comprehensive annual financial report and annual expenditure limitation report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020, as prepared by Henry and Horn LLP Certified Public Accountants. Mr. Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Every year we bring the financial report after it's prepared and by Henry and Horn for your approval. I did put one in your boxes last week for you to review. So Brian from Henry and Horn has just a brief presentation about the financial statements.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Brian Hemmerly. I'm the lead partner on your town's audit this year. As Mr. Duffy mentioned, I have a brief presentation for you up here. So I'll go ahead and get started. Maybe at the end, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those. So a few things here that I must communicate to governance at every city and town that we audit throughout the state is what it is we do exactly. So there's a lot of differences in audits that you can get for a city or town. This audit is your financial statement audit. It's required by statute, state statute. We provide reasonable assurance regarding the financial statements to make sure they're materially correct. We don't provide absolute assurance. And the difference there is absolute assurance would mean that we've tested every transaction that the town had throughout the entire fiscal year. To do that would take quite some time. What we do instead is we do statistical sampling of every area of the financial statements, as well as internal control testing, walkthroughs, observations, and communications with the previous mayor and members of management throughout the town. We do have to note that the financial statements have a significant accounting policies note, note 1. This is pretty boilerplate for most of the cities and towns in the state. There's nothing all that unusual for Chino Valley in your note 1. We had no difficulties encountered during the audit, no uncorrected misstatements. If we found anything we felt needed a journal entry, management was receptive to that. No disagreements with management, and management had not consulted other auditors, what we call audit shopping, because they're unhappy with our audit opinion. So in auditing, we have a lot of things we can say. You have an adverse opinion or a disclaimer of opinion or a scope limitation. Those would be the worst things you could possibly get on an audit. The town of Chino Valley did not receive anything of that nature. They received a clean opinion. So that is, to start off, that is a good thing. We call that an unmodified opinion. They're fairly presented, the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP. However, before I finish that, the Yellow Book audit, which is generally accepted government auditing standards, requires that we look at compliance with grants, contracts, laws, regulations, and debt covenants to make sure you're in compliance with all those things. You received a clean opinion on that as well, an unmodified opinion. That's a separate report that we issue to the town. So within that, even though you receive a clean opinion, you may have findings or recommendations throughout the audit. And this year we had a few findings that we'd like to communicate to governance, and we've already communicated these to management. First off, we had a material weakness regarding debt compliance. So this is in regards to your bonds, the bonds that are publicly available to be purchased out on the open market. So there's private placement, which is just like a loan with a bank. And then there's things that get couponed out and they're sold out on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Your bonds are out there, and there is a public place where municipal markets must upload their disclosures by a certain time every year. It's called EMA. So the town always does this every year. The requirement is to have it uploaded, I believe for your town, it's either the end of January or February. And what had happened is the financial statements last year, not June 30, 2020, but June 30, 2019's financial statements had not been uploaded to EMA in a timely manner. They were uploaded. Your bondholders do have access to those, and there was no complaints or anything on EMA or with any bondholders that we're aware of. However, because you were out of compliance with that upload being timely, we did have to have a finding regarding that. Significant deficiencies this year, we had 2. The first one is related to permit fees and subledgers. During the course of the audit, we sit down again with the mayor and any other member of council that would like to talk to us before the audit. We also talk to the town manager, Joe Duffy, your finance director, and we ask a number of things. One thing that came up this year is Joe Duffy had mentioned that there was some reconciling issues between permit fees and subledgers. So we went ahead and did a test on that. We pulled a statistical sample on that, and we found that indeed he was correct. There was some reconciling items between permit fees in the subledger and what's being uploaded to the general ledger. So that was one of our significant deficiencies. And our understanding is management has already remedied this situation, and the reconciliation between the permits and what's actually being uploaded to the general ledger or booked to the general ledger has been remedied. And then the last comment here is the May tax receivable revenue. So this is some generally accepted accounting principle jargon, but essentially this town gets to recognize revenue when your storefronts sell their goods. So if someone sells a widget in May, the sales tax they collect on that in May needs to be recorded in your general ledger for that fiscal year, the June 30 ending fiscal year. However, that sales tax goes to the state, and the state turns around and gives it to you guys. The state might not get it till June, and they may not give it to you till July. And when that happens, sometimes things get missed as far as sales tax revenue that should have been recognized in certain periods. And that's what this finding is. It's essentially saying that there were some sales tax revenues that had not been recorded, and they were May-related sales tax revenues. And of course, that's an after the fact kind of a cutoff situation between fiscal years. And we just want to make sure you have the right amount of revenue in each fiscal year. So that is the significant deficiency there. As far as recommendations, we had no other written recommendations. I have 2 really brief slides here on some real high level financial information about the town. The red line here are your assets. The green line is your liabilities, and the blue line is your net position, which is a nice way in government accounting of saying equity. This is a 5-year trend analysis, and you'll see your assets have a nice slow increase, nothing dramatic. your debt is slowly being paid down as well. And this is for your governmental funds only. And of course, your equity will go up as those things happen. For your business type funds, mostly your utility-based funds, what we call your enterprise funds, same situation, 5-year trend here, red line assets, green line liabilities, blue line net position. Your assets have declined just a bit, but so has your debt, which is pretty normal if you're paying down debt. So it shows that you probably haven't had huge increases over the year as far as charging your citizens for, not permit fees, utility fees. So that's my brief presentation. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to entertain it.
Any questions, comments? Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, so I make a motion to accept the comprehensive annual audited financial report and the annual expenditure limitation report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020, as prepared by Henry and Horn LLP, certified public accountants.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consideration possible to approve the 70% police building design. Number 2, approve the First Amendment to the professional service agreement with Stroh's Architect Incorporated and for completion of construction plans. And number 3, authorize direct staff to arrange for financing options and to solicit bids for construction. Mr. Wynn.
Mayor and Council, thank you. As you remember, in January, we held a study session and we went through the whole PowerPoint with you and tried to answer all your questions regarding this next step in the building project. So we're here tonight to ask your approval to move forward. And excuse me, if you have any questions, I have Mr. Stroh and Mr. Duffy here to help out.
Any questions? No comments? Question? Okay.
Make a motion to approve the 70% police building design. Approve the First Amendment to professional services agreement with Stroh Architect for completion of construction plans and authorize the direct staff to arrange for financing options and to solicit bids for construction.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Item C, consideration possible action to approve a 2-year extension of the protective development right for Chino Valley Farms to continue. Oh, my mouth's not working right. Sorry. For the Chino Valley Farms to continue the development of their site for the cultivation of medical marijuana. Mr. Dungby. Dingy.
We'll accept that. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. The item before you is a request for an extension of the protective development rights for Chino Valley Farms to continue the development of their site for the cultivation of medical marijuana. The applicant is in attendance tonight, so if you have any questions following this presentation for the applicant, he's available to answer them. The site itself is located on the northwest corner of North Road 1 East and what will be in the future East Road 3.5 North. To the east of the subject property, you have Granite Creek Vineyards, and to the west, you have Fort Knox Self-Storage and Manzanita Land Works. So to briefly recap the history of this PDR, Town Council approved the Chino Valley Farms Protective Development Rights, PDR, for the cultivation of medical marijuana in February of 2016. It allowed the 12-acre property to be developed over 3 phases in the form of greenhouses totaling over 220,000 square feet. The original approval for the PDR gave the applicant 5 years to complete their development with the ability to ask for a 2-year extension. Shown here on the site plan itself, you can see the greenhouses associated with phase 2 and phase 3, as well as phase 1, which was under construction whenever the applicant applied for the original PDR. So with the new site plan that was submitted by the applicant, there are a couple changes from the original. You can see the existing area that the applicant has established, the 5 greenhouses, as well as a parking area for his employees. To the southeast of the property, there is a 1-acre residential piece of property that was divided off in September of last year. It is important to note that this site or this home 1 acre site. The entitlements to cultivate medical marijuana did not convey with that property. It is a residential piece of property and it has no affiliation with the PDR anymore. And then the last big change was the greenhouse square footage itself. While it is less in the square footage of the new proposed greenhouse, the entitlements for the applicant to cultivate up to 220,000 square feet of greenhouse space is still in effect. The applicant is only choosing to pursue a 64,000 square foot greenhouse at this time. With that said, town staff is forwarding a recommendation of approval to town council to approve the 2-year extension of the protective development rights for Chino Valley Farms to continue the development of their site for the cultivation of medical marijuana. I will open it up to question or discussion from council.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
Yeah.
could you go back a
Yeah.
slide, please? One more. Okay, so the existing residential on the 1 acres,
Mhm.
that is excluded
Correct.
from this? This is, so we're just pretending it doesn't exist?
Yeah, he came through for a conditional use permit to establish that in that commercial light zoning district back in September, subsequently divided the property and then sold it.
Okay, and everything's in compliance so far?
Yes.
Task force? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Any further questions over there? You got it?
So they got their 5-year based on their first plan.
Correct.
Now they're getting a 2-year extension
On the first plan, yes.
on the first plan. But this is their new plan.
Correct. So the first plan defined their entitlements. It gave them that 220,000 square foot gross square footage for the cultivation. The applicant is proceeding forward with those same entitlements, but is only pursuing a portion of those at this point in time.
So 2 years from now,
Mhm.
if this is all they've got built, then are they done?
I would
What
def-
is, I don't understand the entitlement, but yet they're going to a smaller
So
facility.
the entitlement itself is because it's non-conforming within the zoning district of commercial light. So that protective development right gives them the ability to continue to cultivate it and develop their site while non-conforming.
Mhm.
Because at this point in time, it's required industrial to cultivate medical marijuana. I can kind of turn it over to Josh here if he can answer that a little bit further as far as what happens after that 2-year period. So I'll defer that to Josh.
Okay.
So they were granted a total of 220,000 square feet of gross greenhouse for marijuana cultivation for medical marijuana. While the site plan that they submitted only shows a reduction in that, they're still entitled to 220,000 square feet of greenhouse on this property. And as long as over the next 2 years they develop, they'll need to submit an additional site plan showing where those additional greenhouses are going to go. And we'll check setbacks, we'll check everything with regards to zoning and location. They'll have to go through the building permit process, everything else. But for this process, I had asked them to submit a modified site plan showing what they had completed thus far and the next phase of what they were looking to do. So my understanding is what they're showing on there is the next phase, but they are entitled up to 220 square feet. They're just asking for a renewal of those initial entitlements.
So within the next 2 years, they can expand, come in and ask for, submit another site plan and ask to go ahead and build more.
That's correct, as long as they don't exceed that 220 square
Yes.
feet of initial entitlement that was granted in 2016.
Thank you.
Aaron, did you have anything?
Are you speaking of if there's anybody on Zoom?
Did they get in?
They are on. Let me
Okay, we
see
have
if they're
the,
wanting to speak. Give me just
we
one
have
second.
the lawyer from, that's representing them that would like to make a comment.
Okay.
If we're open to that. Okay.
Sir, can you hear us?
Just a second. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, my name's Tom Cack. I'm attorney in Prescott, Arizona with Musgrove, Drutz, Cack, and Flack, PC. Represent Columbia Care, and I'm here to help represent Mike Massey as well. Right now, there's a site plan for 65,000 square feet of additional space that would be for cultivation and processing. Obviously, when you grow something, you have to do something with it, cut, trim, package, whatever. I would say that this has been a good use for the town of Chino Valley from the standpoint of it's bringing in dollars to the town. It's not taking them out of the town. And also, and good jobs. I hope you saw the letter that the starting salary is going up to over $16 an hour in March, and it comes with benefits. And that's a pretty darn good job for Chino Valley. And because the money all comes from somewhere else, it's able to turn over in Chino Valley. All of the growing facilities have opaque walls. They're just like any other greenhouse. There's nothing that goes to the town here. It all goes into secured vans and is sold in the Phoenix metropolitan area. So it is for the town actually better than a normal growing facility because it employs a lot of people at a high wage. I guess the final thing I would say would be that we know that medical marijuana has proceeded, and there was an intent to expand for medical marijuana. We now have at least legalized marijuana for those over 21 years old. And so the expectation is that there would be a larger expansion, all subject to the same rules, greenhouses with opaque sides, security fences, everything's still secured. Nothing leaves the property except in a secured van. There's security on site. All the same, just larger. And the expectation of up to 3 times as many employees making, starting at several dollars over minimum wage. So we hope that you'll approve this and we'll get cracking on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, now I have questions.
Okay.
Will? So are the plans to turn this into a recreational marijuana cultivation facility?
Honestly, for Josh here, I believe it is just medical marijuana at this point, but I will.
Just that was their attorney speaking, right?
Right. So this site was approved with a protected development right for medical marijuana cultivation. There is nothing in their PDR that talks about recreational marijuana. My understanding is the fact that the marijuana is on that site at all is a non-conforming use. So expansion or enlargement upon the non-conformity beyond what was approved in the PDR would not be permitted.
Thank you.
That's my understanding. Anything else?
Nope.
With that, I make a motion to approve the 2-year extension of the protected development rights for Chino Valley Farms to continue the development of their site for the cultivation of medical marijuana.
Motion made, a second?
Second.
Our motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consideration action to approve and adopt chapter 117 of the town code regulating recreational marijuana. Mr. Cook.
Thank you. I have a short slide presentation. So let me see if it's up. I need to do the. I talk real loud. Spencer told me to tone it down.
Oh.
There we go. Maybe, okay. All right, so back in January 19th, we had a study session where we met to discuss a new text amendment to the town code, not the Unified Development Ordinance, but the town code in general, adding chapter 117, recreational marijuana. This new chapter would regulate the cultivation, extraction, and infusion of recreational marijuana within the town of Chino Valley. In the future, we'll have to do a text amendment to the medical marijuana section, tying the 2 sections together. Chapter 117 does nothing to the medical marijuana section. It just regulates recreational marijuana. So after our discussion, you had requested an opportunity to read the language I sent it out to all the council members, both the completed text as well as the text that tracked the changes last Tuesday. So hopefully you've had a chance to read through it. If you have questions, I'm going to turn those over to Andrew, as he is the main author of the recreational marijuana chapter, and he can probably answer those questions a little bit better than myself. But with that said, staff is recommending approval that the town council adopt chapter 117, recreational marijuana, to regulate the sale, cultivation, extraction, infusion, and testing of recreational marijuana.
Okay,
So,
thank you, sir.
if Andrew's there.
Annie?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I have questions. I was just going to let Andrew go.
No, Councilmember, I don't have anything to add unless you have questions.
Okay, I do. 117-8, to the fullest extent allowable by law, marijuana possession, consumption, processing, manufacturing, transportation, and cultivation is permitted in a residential zoning district in the town and is subject to the following conditions and limitation. The word district there came up twice under C. It says, except as provided by ARS 36-2801. And this section, it shall be unlawful for an individual to otherwise cultivate marijuana in a residential zoning district within the town limits. Could you please provide the definition of district?
Sure. The residential zoning district is just the way that we generically classify all of the zones in town that are for single family or multifamily residential use. So it's, your 1.6 and all of those residential categories are zoning districts. Those zoning districts, if they are residential, are covered by this provision. So it's
It would be unlawful for an individual to otherwise cultivate marijuana in a residential zoning district within the town limits.
well, it depends on who we're talking about. The individuals are the only ones permitted to cultivate in residential zones. If you are a medical or a recreational marijuana provider, you are only allowed to do so in industrial districts. Except for our item we just went past that has a protected development right for an old process that used to exist in the code. But the self-grow, the person who is going to have 6 plants, him or herself, or 12 plants for the household, as it were, that can occur in a residential district, but those are the only people who can cultivate in residential.
I think I understand. Could you just circle back? That's the term. There seems, to me, it looks like a discrepancy between 117.8, it's good to go, and then on C, it is unlawful within a residential zoning district. Could you clarify the two for me, please?
Are we talking about, let me make sure, on C? I want to see where are you in 1.1?
Except as provided by ARS 36-2801, and this section, it shall be unlawful for an individual to otherwise cultivate marijuana in a residential zoning district within the town limits. It just seems very contradictory.
Again, I'm looking at 117-8, and then you're seeing, and you're going to 117.8 C, correct? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
It seems like it's an exception statement. So ARS section 36-2801 has some provisions for individual cultivation, which is, I believe, the 6 plants that Andrew had mentioned. Other than that, individual cultivation in residential districts shall be prohibited. Is that correct, Andrew?
That is correct. The reason that we drug in the regulations in 36-2801 is that we don't want to replicate them here just in case they are modified in the future. So we point just to the state statute that has additional requirements for how you have to cultivate and the things you need to do. So the general statement says you're allowed to do it in residential zoning districts subject to those conditions, but then C is specifically narrowing it to the way in which you will do individual cultivation in a residential district. And if you don't follow 36-2108,
you are prohibited.
Understood. Thank you. I have one more. Section 5, number 3, marijuana establishment permits may be revoked by the town for violation of any provision of this ordinance for any violation of the requirements of the permit, or if the department revokes the license for the establishment. I'd just like to make the recommendation, if it's applicable, that the word state department revokes the license for the establishment, or what is the definition of the department, if not?
Department is defined a little further up in the regulation as the State Department, the State of Arizona Department of Health Services, or its successor agency.
So that's solid. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, you got something?
No.
Oh, anyone else? Okay, sir.
Make a motion to approve and adopt chapter 117 of the town code regulating recreational marijuana.
Motion made, second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. Item 7. Executives, we're going to adjourn from this and go into an executive session. An executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03 A3 for discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney regarding pending lawsuit. And I need a motion for that.
Then we actually need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, no.
Yes, we'll be adjourning
We
the,
have spelled out tonight. It looks like we stop one and restart.
So we
correct?
make a motion to adjourn?
we will be
Motion to
adjourning the
adjourn.
regular meeting, yes.
Okay, Lon.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we don't have to have a motion because we're just going to reconvene. You know, when you change the rules, you got to let me know.
Nobody changed, you just forgot.
Probably so. No, we're going.